Hello everyone, welcome on in. It is Betting Weekly Game Bet Match for the second time this week. We are looking ahead to the grass court matches and the two tournaments in Halle and in London. And I'm also joined, as usual, per our senior ATP Tour handicapper is Sean Calvert, who is in London for the night after his day at Queen's Club. Before I ask Sean about what happened yesterday, the bets he's got for tomorrow, please hit the follow button. Sorry, hit the subscribe button. Follow us here on the Betting Weekly Studios. Hit a like, give us a comment, let us know anything you want on the show, any bets you agree with, any bets you disagree with. Hopefully you're cashing tickets with us at the moment. But please hit that subscribe button. We're looking to try to get 10,000 subscribers before Wimbledon, during Wimbledon, or hopefully not after Wimbledon. We want 10,000 of you to subscribe to us, and we are approaching that very fast. And with your help, we can do just that. Sean, sorry I couldn't join you yesterday at Queen's Club. I had a bit of an issue at home with my mother-in-law. Thankfully, she's a lot better today and home from hospital. But how was your day?
Busy. I'm not sure you'd have liked it in there. Well, you might have done. It's absolutely rammed in there now. It's so busy. I mean, that was day one, and it was a kind of a low key start. You know, there's today where there's tons of matches on. That's Tuesday. I imagine it's going to be even worse. But yeah, it was so busy. They've adopted some sort of one way system to get in and out of what is now called the Andy Murray Arena. It was absolutely packed yesterday. It was very warm. I didn't take any sun cream because it's Britain, you know. Got a little bit burnt. I've got some sun cream on today. It's going to be very, very hot today. But it was all right. It was a bit of a low key start, to be honest. But the takeaway is that it's really busy. The other thing I noticed, actually, I don't know whether you saw this on the TV, but the automatic line calling, it's so quiet. I don't know if it comes across on the TV, but it seems different than the other tournaments. It seems like half a second slower, so you're kind of waiting for them to say out, and they do it so quietly you can barely hear it. But very, very strange. But it's going to be another good day of tennis today. I'll go and watch our boy Jack Draper in a minute.
Yeah, it's going to be busy today. Draper's going to be in action. You think it's busy yesterday. Today's going to be even more busy.
And hotter.
Yeah, and hotter. And also, you know, the other thing I did notice as well, they tried to pump this sort of dance music between every break.
Did they? I didn't notice
I'm getting old, but we never used to you between every service break, there's like this sort of pumping music that they have in like, there's music blaring out. Yeah, there was in the women's. I don't know if it'll be in the men's, but it was quite.
I didn't notice.
But did you bump into the Chris Brigade? You didn't just bump into the old. There's a lot of Chris Brigades there, though, isn't there? There's a lot of middle-aged women from Surbiton.
I mean, it is very much like that. You know, if you look around, I remember sitting around. I just had they've got one good thing about it is they've got loads of good water stations, by the way, which is great. And you sort of sat there filling your cup up and sort of having a look around, and all the preconceived ideas you have about British tennis watchers are 100% true there. It's 99.3% that person. I was sitting next to a couple that live in the Caribbean, British couple that now live somewhere in the Caribbean, and they've just popped themselves over to Queens for a couple of days of tennis. It's very much like that. It's not my favourite tournament, I have to admit, but there's a certain type of individual that goes there, that's for sure.
Let's have a look at some winners. We've got some matches. So today we've got some matches in action for us. So we haven't really got much of a change in our figures because the matches that we tipped for the first round are actually in play today. So not really much action currently today. But tomorrow, Sean has highlighted four matches that we are going to take a look at. And we're going to start the tournament in Halle, not at Queen's, Halle. A bit more interesting. I suppose this week we've been betting a lot more at Halle than we have at Queen's Club, but we've got to start off with an interesting match between Daniil Medvedev and Quentin Halys. Now, Medvedev is not having the best of times at the moment, but that isn't reflected by these odds here with Bet Rivers. Medvedev is minus 305 to win this on the money line, plus 230 for Quentin Halys, who's a very capable grass court player. Spread is 2.5, total quite low, 23.5. You know, we're talking about games being over 24.5 and 25.5. We've got a 23.5 here involving two big hitters. This one here has interested me a little bit. I quite like the price on Quentin Halys. Obviously, he got beat by an in-form Taylor Fritz in Stuttgart in the round of 16. He bounced back to the win against Bonzi here. Good win in Halle. And Medvedev has been pretty poor. Got to the quarterfinals of Hertogenbosch, but got shocked by Riley Opelka's match that you wouldn't expect him to lose that. The head-to-head is one win apiece. The last time Halys did win, though, was back in 2015 in a futures match. Probably no relevance at all. But Medvedev gained revenge in Miami in 2023 with a fairly comfortable 6-4, 6-2. But this time around, Medvedev is not that kind of player on the hard courts in the year of 2023. Could be a shock on the cards here.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it is kind of reflected in the price a bit. I mean, Medvedev was 1.13 when they played in Miami. Now he's, 1.3 something? So well over double the price that he was that day. It's interesting, actually. If you just look at the head-to-head and you say, oh, Medvedev beat him 6-4, 6-2 in quick conditions in Miami, you might come to a certain conclusion, but that match was strange. For a start, it didn't actually commence until after midnight local time, that match. And it finished at just after 1:30 in the morning. So the conditions were much, much slower, much, much more humid. And then there's that's to go without saying the sort of the factor of motivation. Do you want to play at midnight? You've been waiting around all day. It's been raining or whatever. Your match has been delayed. Then they say, oh, can you go on court now? It's midnight. It's not surprising that, Medvedev, having won the first set, Halys just thought, 6-4, 6-2, whatever. Let's call it a day. But the interesting thing is Medvedev's lost 6 of his last 9 matches against the big servers on my database, and he's 0-4 against them on grass. So a struggle for him. He capitulated against Opelka last week, threw in 3 double faults to lose the match. He did play well against Altmaier yesterday, but Altmaier's not at all comfortable on the grass, is he? He's a clay court guy. Halys, much, much bigger weapons, as we know. With big serve, hit 18 aces in 2 sets. Yesterday won 90% of his first serve points against Bonzi. And on the grass stats, main level, last 10 matches, Halys, service points won, return points won, total of 104. 90% holds, 83% first serve points won. Medvedev just a little bit bigger, 105 and 89% holds. So on the grass stats, last 10 matches, very, very similar statistics. Does Halys come to the net enough is perhaps another question. If he came to the net more often, I'd be more keen on this. But I'm still keen on it anyway, because I just think, Medvedev, I don't know these days. I don't like that reactive style of play on quick grass anyway. It needs to be more aggressive for me. I watched the match against Opelka last week. I think I mentioned it. He'd completely capitulated. He threw in 3 double faults to lose the match. One of them on match point, if I remember rightly. And if you're Daniil Medvedev, one of the best baseliners in recent times, and you can't outplay Opelka from the back of the court, it's worrying. It really is for Daniil Medvedev. Last year he lost here to Zhizhen Zhang. 7-6 in the third, if I remember rightly, Medvedev. So I just don't think a lot of people will just look at this and say, oh, he beat him last time on a hard court, quick hard court. Yeah, let's chuck him into a parlay minus 305. But not for me. I think I'm going to take, I toyed with a few things here. I toyed with sort of set one overs, all that sort of stuff, but it didn't really give me the right price that I was looking for. I just think this is a match where if Halys hits his spots on serve, he's certainly got a chance of beating Medvedev in these conditions. So I think the simplest and easiest way to bet this is just take Halys to win it on the money line. Maybe win him to win set 1 if you don't fancy him to get the whole job done. But plus 230 with Bet Rivers, Quentin Halys. I think it's worth an official play. Yeah,
Quentin Halys plus 230. He's manning quite decent form. Medvedev struggling for any kind of form. A heavy favourite minus 305. You've got to be a very, very brave better to take the Russian at those kind of prices. Another Russian that looks a little bit vulnerable is his good friend, Karen Khachanov. He's up against Zizou Bergs, Medvedev's good friend, not Sean's good friend.
No,
he's up against Zizou Bergs is more a good friend of mine, but anyway.
And mine now.
Karen Khachanov, yes, good buddies. He's a very good friend of everybody on Game Bet Match after reaching the final last week at 40-1 for us in Herzogenbosch. Zizou Bergs, as I said, finalist last week on the grass up against Karen Khachanov. Bergs is playing some good tennis. Up to 49 in the world rankings inside the top 50. Khachanov doing okay, doing steady. Player that usually does better at the majors rather than anything else. And he's a heavy favourite here, Khachanov, minus 230. Berg's full of it, confidence and playing the best tennis league for a long time. His plus 180 spread here is 2.5, and the total very similar to Medvedev, exactly the same as a Medvedev game, 23.5 here. These two have met once before, and in 2020 in Antwerp in Belgium, and Khachanov won after losing the first set. He lost the first set 7-5 and bounced back to win 6-4, 6-4 in a match that produced 33 on the total games. I suggest people might be looking at total games here again. There are 29 different markets available on the BetRivers app, and if you do have a bet on this match, you'll be able to live stream it, watch it from your tablet, your mobile device, or whatever you want up your home computer. But remember, it's an early start, 5:30 a.m. for the action Eastern time for these matches tomorrow. Bergs, tennis is a fickle business, isn't it? 1 week, you get the winner, 40-1 cheering on. Next week, you're opposing him. Are we sticking on the Bergs train, or are we dropping him off after he got to the final last week?
I think we're sort of keeping him a bit. It's not as cut and dried as that, this one, I don't think. The reason that we're talking about this one, this is a round one match, but it's been delayed until Wednesday. I mean, Bergs has got a little bit of fortune there. He obviously played the final in Rosmalen a couple of days ago. He has got the later start, which is very important, I think, as when you're analysing this match. I'm just not convinced by Khachanov on grass at all. It doesn't feel right. It just seems too low bouncing for him. The extreme forehand grip that he's got. He hates coming to the net. He absolutely despises that for whatever reason. Because he plays a lot of doubles. He's perfectly capable at the net. He just doesn't like doing it. Which is similar to Medvedev in a way, really. Medvedev kind of has to force himself to go to the net as well. I don't really like that on grass. I'm not saying you should come to the net all the time, but you should certainly have it in your locker to do it every now and again. Khachanov doesn't do that. Bergs does. Bergs, for me, has got a better sort of all-round grass game, which is one of the reasons why I took him last week. I thought if he does, produce his best all-round game, then he would have a chance in Rosmalen. And if you look at what these guys have done on grass at main level, it's actually Bergs that's got the better statistics in terms of service points won and return points won totals. He's on 101.1 and a 56% win rate all-time on grass at main level. Khachanov, slightly better win rate, 61%, but his total is lower on 100.5. So if you're looking at that, you're also looking at their head-to-head, which was very close. That match they played in Antwerp, it was a few years ago as well, when Bergs was just, bursting onto the scene. Their head-to-head was very close there, 99-101 only in favour of Khachanov. 88% holds for Bergs, 94% holds for Khachanov. So a very tight match in the head-to-head years ago. They're on a surface here that, for me, doesn't do a great deal for Khachanov. The worry, obviously, with Bergs, and presumably the reason that he's been priced plus 180 is that he's likely to be tired. I mean, the matches that he played in Rosmalen, every point was a war in a lot of them. I think he played probably his best in the semi-final and the final. He lost the final. Tight one. The serving issue is another big problem for him. If he can sort that serve out, he's got a chance. If you look at what he did in Rosmalen on serve, he only made 53% of his first serves in Rosmalen, 32 double faults at an average of 1 every 2 service games. And that was exactly the same as the number of aces. He had 32 aces and 32 double faults. So he was getting nothing out of his first serve, really, nothing for free out of his first serve. Khachanov was hardly impressive either against McDonald. A scratchy win against McDonald and then a loss against Diallo. He only won 34.5% of return points, 10.5% breaks of serve only. So not a great performance from him there. If you look into back, I'm sort of in 2 or 3 minds about this one. Bergs is interesting at plus 180 on the basis that I think he might have enough in the tank, because before Rosmalen, he'd only played 2 matches since April the 24th. So it's not like accumulated fatigue of lots and lots of weeks of going deep. It's the first time he's gone deep for a very long time. So it's all about how he's feeling, how much energy he's got left there. It just feels to me like an over 2.5 sets one to me. The handicap is a worry, because if Bergs is fatigued, he might drop off and lose a set sort of 6-2 or something, which would be a concern. But I think if you're playing this over 2.5 sets at plus 132, BetRivers is perhaps the way to go.
A long one expected between Bergs and Khachanov. Bergs in great form, over 2.5 sets. Plus money is the bet for Sean there. 29 different markets currently available on the BetRivers website. We didn't touch on the weather, but we touched on the top of it. So it's gloriously sunny. Yeah. It's going to be very, very hot in London, and I'm guessing it's going to be very, very hot in Germany as well. Halle's going to be hot conditions
28 degrees. It's supposed to be on Wednesday, so very much similar to London.
Yeah, very, very hot across Europe as well, which may see a few of these matches going overs. Yesterday was, again, another day for overs betters. Let's move on to our final match over in Germany, and it sees the German number 1, the world number 3, Alexander Zverev, up against the American Marcus Giron. Alexander Zverev is a heavy favourite, minus 625. One of the heaviest favourites on the card, up against Marcus Giron is plus 450. Spread here is 4.5. Total is 22.5. Head-to-head, massively in favour of Zverev. 3-0 the German leads on the head-to-head, including a grass match at Wimbledon last year, where Zverev won very, very easy, 6-2, 6-1, 6-4. Giron has been nibbled at in the betting, though. A little bit of money for the American here. He has lost his last 3 matches, and he's only won 2 of his last 7. So not in the greatest of form, got beaten. But this is on grass. I know he got beat by Zverev last year, but he's a player who's capable on grass.
Well, Newport,
and Zverev has that. Yeah, and this Zverev's got the disappointment of getting beat in Germany in the final by Taylor Fritz in Stuttgart again. Maybe a little bit of fatigue from that match, but he played some big players in that. Shelton, Nakashima, Mute, good players. And now he's up against Giron. Heavy favourite. I don't think he'll be carrying any of your money, Mr. Calvert.
No, absolutely not. Anyway, he'd probably win this match, but, minus 625. I'm just not, again, like Khachanov, I'm not convinced with Zverev on grass at all. Particularly fresh new grass like this is. Obviously that isn't the case at Queen's. It's been played on for a week. In Halle it hasn't. It often tends to be quite slippery in Halle as well. Slick, low bouncing, not for me for Zverev really. Wimbledon is very different. It's a much slower, higher bouncing grass, certainly in the second week. Halle is more like a traditional old school grass court tournament. I mean, we were really unlucky last week when we took Mute, excuse me, against Zverev. Blew his golden chance to win the second set against Zverev. Had a set point on his own serve, Mute, and ended up making a mess of it. Should have won that set, certainly. If he starts Zverev that slowly again, then Giron should have at least a chance of at least pressing him, at least doing something here. I think he's been a bit unlucky, Giron, when he's played Zverev a couple of times, and the head-to-head does look overwhelming. But again, there are reasons for that. Zverev played incredibly well when he beat Giron in Antwerp. He got a 9.61 match rating that day, Zverev, which at that time I think it was the best rating of the entire season from anybody. So that's unlucky, and Giron still went 7-5 in the second against him. Zverev also played probably his best match of his career on grass at Wimbledon when he beat Giron there, the one you talked about, 6-2, 6-1, 6-4. That's the best for me Zverev's ever played at Wimbledon. So I think Giron's been a little bit unlucky. When they did meet at the Australian Open, the first couple of sets were tie breaks. And a lot will depend on how Giron serves it, because he's actually got a very underrated serve, Giron. He's won 77% on first serve in Halle, Giron. Now Zverev's only won 78% on first serve. So 2 very, very effective first serves at this tournament. Zverev only 1 point better, 78 to 77. So his serve's been just as effective as Zverev's has at this tournament. Slight worry on the money line would be how fit Giron is, because he pulled out of Rosmalen last week with unspecified reason. I'm not sure what that was. Assume an injury or maybe an illness of some description. But I think if you are betting on this one, it's perhaps worth taking a small chance on Giron. If he is able to serve at his best, then over 10.5 games in set 1 plus 165 with Bet Rivers is probably the way to go. As I've said, his first serve is almost identical to Zverev's at this tournament. So if he manages to get a healthy percentage of his first serves in, it could well be a long one for Zverev in his opening match. He has struggled in opening matches.
So over set number 1 is that an official play or is that a lean?
That's a lean, yeah.
Okay, the other 2 are official plays, though. We've got 2
the first one's the official play. I've got another one coming in London.
Okay, so we've got 1 official play, and our official play is Quentin Halys on the money line. And now we've got 1 in London over here. Jakub Mensik is the match up against Roberto Bautista Agut. Now, Jakub Mensik is a player that a lot of people are tipping up to do well this week. I spoke to 2 or 3 tennis judges, and they fancy him. They bet him at 25 to win this tournament here. If he serves well, he's a danger for anyone, as we saw when he won Miami. He's up against a wily old campaigner in Roberto Bautista Agut. Mensik is minus 230. He did have a win against Cam Norrie in the edged a three-set match in round one. Bautista Agut come through against Bergs again in a three-set match. Mensik's minus 230, as I said. Plus 180 is the price for the Spaniard. Spread is 2.5. Total here is 22.5. They have met once before, and it was in round one in Miami when Mensik went on to win. But Bautista Agut did give him some problems. He took the second set in quick conditions, but Mensik came through in the final set 6-1. Now, as I said, a lot of people are talking Mensik up as a potential winner this week, Sean. I don't know if you watched this game yesterday, what you thought of it.
I was there. I was watching it. I was getting sunburnt. Watching him against Cam Norrie. It was... I said on the Instagram, actually, before that match, I said over 2.5 sets here with Norrie and Mensik. That one did actually come in. I'm not as convinced as your guys are about Mensik on the grass. Not yet, not for me. He could easily have lost that match against Cam Norrie yesterday. He should have lost the opening set. Norrie was certainly, I think 3 or 4 points ahead in the first set tiebreak. I think he was 5-2 up. Something like that in the first set tiebreak. Norrie had a set point on his own serve. He had other set points as well. The one he had on his own serve, he just pushed a forehand wide on set point. Should have won that first set, Norrie, and did win the second set very, very comfortably. So Mensik could have been out had Norrie taken that opportunity that he missed. I just think his first serve is still doing an awful lot of the heavy lifting for him. If you look at his statistics, he only won 31% yesterday on his second serve against Cam Norrie. It's not enough. He's relying on a high first serve percentage. I mean, yes, he's going to win a high percentage of those points if he does land it, but he's relying on getting sort of 65, 70% of first serves in. Otherwise, his second serve is vulnerable. He lost that match in terms of service points won and return points won totals against Norrie, 104-96. And as I said, only won 31% on second serve. It's not enough if you're going to win this sort of tournament. He was able to win Miami despite of that because he was winning pretty much every tiebreak he played. You're not going to do that every week. Ironically, when he played Bautista Agut in Miami, he also only won 31% on second serve in that match against Bautista. And Bautista had 8 breakpoint chances, and he only took 1 of them. So immediately you're looking at these stats and you're thinking it's not enough for Mensik. Bautista Agut had a heavy job on his hands yesterday. He had to come from a set and 4-1 down and save a match point against Bergs. But he's still very good on grass. Bautista's had a great career on grass. It's arguably been his best surface. If you look at the last 10 main level matches on grass, I can only do 7 for Mensik because he's only played 7. Bautista's still pretty effective, 60% win rate and a service points won and return points won total of 101. Mensik in his 7 matches on grass, 43% win rate, and his total is 96. I know most of them were last season when he wasn't the player that he is now. I watched several of his matches in Mallorca last year. But again, he's only won 44% on second serve on grass. This match, if he serves well, he'll probably win. But he's just relying way too much on it for me. If he has a day when he's not quite making the amount of first serves, and this could be a real struggle. This one I'm going over 2.5 sets, plus 140 with Bet Rivers is the bet there. Or if you want to make it a bit juicy, you could go for 2-1 in the set betting to Mensik, which is a plus 280 chance. But over 2.5 sets for me, I think Bautista Agut will make this very difficult for him.
So our official play at London in Queen's Club tomorrow is over 2.5 sets. Bautista Agut against Jakub Mensik. Remember, if you want to follow Sean's adventures at Queen's Club, you can at Because We Win. He'd be there today. Hopefully this will still get some content before this video drops, because obviously we're recording it today and Sean will be there on Tuesday. We'll be back again tomorrow on Wednesday, looking at the matches for Thursday. I'll be travelling to Italy tomorrow, so I'll be doing it from my hotel in Italy, and hopefully you'll join us then again for that. And obviously then next week we've got more action when the build-up to Wimbledon continues. You going to Mallorca next week, Sean?
Yep, I'll be there, Mallorca. Best tournament of the year.
Mallorca as well next week, Sean. There you go. That's all. It's all happening here, Because We Win. Also, Betting Weekly, Tennis Live as well, every day, 4 o'clock Eastern time. So 4 o'clock local time, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Betting Weekly, hang on, let's get this right. It's 1 o'clock Eastern Time, Betting Weekly Tennis Live, and 6 o'clock UK. Betting Weekly Live is 11 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock UK. And obviously later on in the evening, we have our American shows, the baseball and the basketball, covered by Doug Kazarian and all the American team of handicappers here at Because We Win. The newsletter is out as well, bettingweeklystudios.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. But as I keep saying at the top of the show, please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get that 10,000. We're very, very close. And with your help, we can get it sooner rather than later. Sean, enjoy your day at the Tennis Today. Before I go, can you give me a recap of your official plays, please?
Yes, I can. The official play in Halle was Quentin Halys to beat Daniil Medvedev. That's a plus 230 chance for Bet Rivers. And over in Queen's Club, just around the corner here, over 2.5 sets in Jakub Mensik against Roberto Bautista at Agut. That is a plus 140 chance for Bet Rivers.
They are our bets. Good luck with your action today. Obviously, we've got some more matches coming today, which we gave on Monday's show as well. So a busy day of tennis betting as we build up to the countdown to Wimbledon. Wimbledon is just under 2 weeks away now from the greatest Grand Slam of them all, I consider it. Have a good day, Sean. Take care, everybody. Good luck with your bets, and we'll speak to you all again tomorrow.